stopped building nuclear plants in this country about 20 years ago. We have over 100 of them, but we stopped building them back then. Countries like France, has 80% of their electricity produced by nuclear. They're building them like gangbusters in China and India and Russia and all over the world, but we haven't done that in the United States. Now, obviously, we're not talking about nuclear-powered planes, and cars and things like that. That's not the point. But the point is that many of our plants, if they're not powered by coal, well, it's natural gas and oil and other things. So all that's, it's in competition. So that ought to be one of those things, I believe, that's out there. We had a couple of comments. One of them was about the 68. When we talk about talking points, that was one of the talking points that we were hearing. I think it was last week, was the 68 million acres that aren't being drilled out there. So we don't need to go in ANWR because we've got that out there. The fact is, if you look at that,
if you allow me, if you yield,
I would be happy to.
But it's just that ANWR is apparently the answer for everything. And I guess that if we drill in ANWR, my allergies will go away. That is not going to happen. We need some short relief. And what we are saying is combine the 68 million acres with preservation and other energy policies. But the fact of the matter is that for the last 12 years, we didn't have an energy policy. Yeah, thank you for yielding.
Absolutely, and reclaiming my time. Relative to preservation and conservation, we're for that. But it's one of these things where I think as a nation, and we ought to do this, as the gentleman from Indiana mentioned, it ought to be in a bipartisan manner. We ought to work together on this one. And we need to do all of the above. We need to do conservation. We do need the alternative and renewable sources, which the folks on the other side of the aisle have stressed, but have also said, well, we're not going to do ANWR. And I'm not saying every person on the other side of the aisle was saying that, but enough were that it stopped it. And so we didn't do ANWR. We didn't do the Outer Continental Shelf. And the gentleman mentioned down there that we should have, those available for the day when we need them. We're at $4 a gallon. We're way past that day, I think, that we have to go after those resources. And getting back to the 68 million acres that are out there that are out on lease, what happens is when people bid and purchase those leases for 5 years or 10 years, they have a certain amount of time to drill and explore, and then it lapses and then it goes back. But it doesn't mean that there's oil on all those. They purchase them with the hope that maybe there's oil there, and over time they do ultimately explore and then drill if they discover oil. In ANWR, we know it's there. We don't know if it's 10 billion barrels or if it's 16 billion barrels, but we know it's there. We know it's a lot of it. We also know that this isn't a place that Americans go up and vacation. It isn't a place where, about 8 to 10 months of the year, it's essentially frozen tundra. Now, the photographs that you see from the more extreme environmentalists that have put that off limits over the years, they'll show you the couple of months when there is some greenery up there, but most of the time it is a barren wasteland. And in the Outer Continental Shelf, it's an area that we do need to have great care when we go out there. We certainly don't want to harm the environment, but it's an area that we can go there without harming the environment. Look at all the oil wells that we have down in the Gulf, and we had one of the worst hurricanes of all time sweep through that area and take out a number of oil wells, and there weren't environmental spills of any significance, and that was about the worst storm ever that went through there. So we do need to do it in an environmentally safe manner, and we can do that, but I think we're way beyond the time when we can afford to put this off limits. Even if we don't have that oil right now, I think because of the speculation that's inherent in the market, I think you'd see the oil costs come down dramatically and very quickly if Congress would just act and give us a vote and let us vote on this again. Because even though it didn't pass it did pass in the House, we couldn't get it through the Senate. As high as the costs are now, I think it would pass. But we can't have it pass if we can't have a vote on it. Right now, we haven't had a vote in this Congress.